A park ranger stands front-facing in uniform of a tan flat hat, gray shirt, and green trousers. The ranger stands in a narrow grassy clearing in a wooded area. Next to the ranger is a stone monument, and behind the ranger are two bronze cannons mounted on a two-wheeled carriage.
Hello, I'm Ranger Lee White. Thank you for checking in as we observe the 157th anniversary of the Battle of Chickamauga. You see a lot of cannons on the Chickamauga battlefield, but you'll also hear that cannons really didn't have a big role in the battle. Ever wonder why? And coming to you today from the site of Captain William W. Carnes' Tennessee Battery, marked by this tall monument here. Carnes' monument, made of marble with two full-scale cannon barrels carved into its sides and topped with a stack of cannonballs, and unit name and insignia in the center. One of the less visited spots of the battlefield, located in the thick woods to the east of the Brotherton Field. A Civil War battle was an assault on the senses, with waves of overwhelming stimuli that could fatally distract you. Arguably the one branch of the Civil War Army that needed to be able to focus, to see, to hear, was artillery. In the early afternoon of September 19th, Captain Carnes, pictured here, seated, youthful, with a thin mustache, wearing a Confederate officer's uniform with double row of brass buttons, holding his sword crosswise along the length of his arm, and his men went into action on this spot in support of General Marcus Wright's brigade in an attempt to drive Union forces from their positions around Brock Field. As the roar of battle drowned out all other sounds, Carnes focused on the fight in front of him, and being placed on the left wing of Wright's brigade was with no support further to the west or behind him, received a very nasty surprise, as did one of his lieutenants, Abram Van Vleck. Pictured here, seated, full bearded, holding an officer's sword, wearing a dark slouch hat and Confederate officer's uniform with military overcoat. One of Carnes' lieutenants described what happened next. Orderly Sergeant Finney White hurriedly announced to me that the enemy was flanking the battery. I told him to report to Captain Carnes, but the latter was fully cognizant of the fact and was at that moment training the left piece against the flankers. Lieutenant A. Van Vleck received several severe wounds at the captain's side, and while the infirmary corps was trying to bear him to the rear, he was shot through the breast from side to side and killed him thus in the hands of the litter bearers. Sergeant John Thompson was killed by the side of a gun. Private John Lane, a Mexican War veteran, was also killed while making his way to the rear, badly wounded. When all the horses had fallen except for one of the teams on the right section, the captain gave orders to limber up the right piece and get away. The team came forward under the gallant drivers in the midst of a storm of all sorts of shot, but the 6 horses fell in a heap. The lead team with their heads on the trail of the piece they were going to save. The captain then said, "We can't save the battery. Let the men leave as quick as possible." Only 35 men followed the captain and lieutenants from that terrible spot. Being able to clearly see your foe at a distance was critical for artillery. But in the woods, with the smoke hanging thickly, not being able to hear the approach of your foe was also critical, but was drowned out by the roar of the battle from the front. The loss of these senses cost Carnes, as did it many others this day.